Hi everyone, it's Deb again. So this is going to be part 2 on how I make my herbal skin salve. And please make sure you watch part 1 first so that this video makes sense to you. And hopefully this will be a shorter video and I won't have any hiccups like I did in part 1 with my Apex unit. So the last time I checked with you, it was working. I have not turned it on since then. It's actually been a few days since I made the first video. I know I said it was going to be the next day, but that ended up not happening. But the good thing is about these salves is that you can do this. You can let it sit for a few days and nothing's going to happen. Because like I told you in the first one, my salve has totally solidified, and so there was no harm in letting it sit for 3 days. And you know, I just had it covered and everything. And so let's see if my Apex is working, because if it's not, then I'm going to have to take you over to the wall. No, it's working. You hear it? The fan's on. So that means I can actually do it on here. Where are we at? 98%. So this is totally solidified and cold, and so this is actually going to take a while. Probably at least a half an hour, maybe. It always seems to take longer on the electric burner because I'm never quite sure what's perfect on here. I'm still learning how to use it. So I'll put it on like 3.5. And then when it gets all melty, I will add my oil-based extract over there, and then my essential oils here. Those are the oils that I already added, and the beeswax, I still need to put those away in my box. And then this recipe actually makes 16 ounces by weight and of pretty much by liquid too. And these are little 1 ounce metal tins that I'm going to be pouring them into. And I'll take the lids off of all of them, and each one I'll set here on my scale. I'll put the batteries in when I get ready to use it, and then I'll put the tin on there. It's kind of shiny, and it's got this divot, so I'm putting it on a paper towel because this is almost the exact same size as that divot, and I don't want it kind of sliding around or anything, so that's why I'm going to put a paper towel on it. And then when I put the tin on it, I will tear it out, and I'll show you that right now. There's a tear button, and it zeroes out the scale. So you put your container on there, and then you tear it, and then you fill it, and you'll go up to, in this case it'll be 1 ounce by weight. So I will get back to you when this is all melty. Alright, see you in a bit. Okay, so it has been about 25 minutes, and my Apex is already down to about 65%. It's fluctuating, of course, like it always does. So it's already taken quite a bit of it. It's been 25 minutes, and to help it along, I've got a butter knife here, and probably about 10 minutes ago, I cut into it, and I just basically cut it into little pie wedges just to get it going, and then I put more cuts around there, and then I actually went and scooped my 2 cat boxes, one in the house and one in the catio, and then when I came back out, it had already started to melt, and so I've been sitting here stirring it. And actually, remember the sediment from part 1? The sediment I told you that I was going to go ahead and let slide, and I knew it would show up at some point, but what surprised me was when I first came in here and I started pushing the outer pieces inwards, I found, like, clinging to the side, this, and it was the sediment. It's some of the sediment. Is really gross. And so I took the knife, and obviously I scraped that off and wiped it on that paper towel, but that was part of the sediment that got left in there in part 1 when I was doing the oil infusion, when I was straining it. So I just wanted to show you that. It's probably going to be you know, at least 10 more minutes, I imagine. And then I'm probably going to be interrupted by other things. I don't know if you can hear it. It's really busy around here right now. All the neighbors are out, they're mowing, the kids are out playing. And so it may get to the point where I get this all melted, and then I have to put it on hold before I can pour it into the little containers over there. So we'll see. But whatever happens, I will get back to you. And I use the spatula. I can't do it with one hand. Here, I can probably set you down, but now that the beeswax is in there, it's going to start you know, sticking to the utensils and everything. Sorry about that. I'm gonna try to adjust my camera. But you know, when you stir it and everything, it's going to be liquid, but then when you take it out, all that liquid is going to start hardening up. So I just go back and forth from using a spoon and using the spatula, and then I wipe them with each other. Like, it's really clingy, you know, because it wants to harden up. It's a salve now, quite literally, so it just wants to stick to all these utensils. And so I just try to wipe it off each time and set that back, but hopefully this won't take too much longer. My apex is at 61%, so we'll see. All right, hold on. All right, so I am sitting at still about 60% on the apex, and just by looking at it, I know that once I start stirring that, the rest of that is gonna melt in. So I just wanted to show you what it looks like here. It's been about 6 or 7 minutes. And so this is going to probably go faster now. I did actually turn this up to 4 shortly after I started it, actually. I don't like to turn it up too high, because if the water gets too hot, what happens is, if it starts to boil or whatever, it will make the measuring cups like bubble, like it'll go you know, and it scares me, because I can't have any of that water get in to the oil. That's a big no-no. You cannot let any water get into this mixture, none whatsoever. And so you really have to watch it and not have your heat too high, because it's just, there's, you know, this big flat solid surface sitting on my trivet, and the bubbles have to go somewhere, and you can see that there's hardly any other space. This is a big measuring cup, and it happens when I do like 2 measuring cups or 3 measuring cups at one time, if I can fit 3 little ones. But that's what happens if you have the heat too high on your water bath. It'll just kind of start bubbling, and that's really not what you want. So you just have to have patience, really, so that you don't have an accident. So I don't know if I should turn the camera off now. It's almost ready. You can see that just in this couple minutes, it's already pretty much dissolved or melted. Yep, it's ready. So now I'm going to put the extract in. It's oil soluble extract. Ooh, sorry, making me seasick. But it's pretty fragile. It's like an essential oil. You don't really want to get it real super hot and have it hot for a long time. Let me scrape this down so you can see that just the top part of that knife had solidified because I was sitting there stirring. And if I, you know, it's liquid now, but if I stand here a minute, that will all go solid. And so I just try to get it all back down in there. And for the essential oils, I might do a time lapse because there's a lot of drops and I don't really want to bore you. And so always, when you're doing this, make sure you wipe the side of the bottle. You don't want that dripping down the side. So always dry that before you put your cap back on, because if you don't, you're just going to have a huge mess. You're going to have a bunch of bottles with oil down the side and it'll collect around the threads, and that's really gross. You just don't want to do that. So I think it's good enough. There's just that one little chunk that I just scraped off the knife, and every time you stick your knife in there and you pull it back out, you have to scrape it again. So there's just really no way around it. Once that the salve hits the room temperature air, it's gonna cool off. That's the science of it. And my salve right now, this salve is thicker than my last batch. See, I started out with a certain amount and then it turned out to be too hard, and so I cut that amount in half. I'm always experimenting with my recipes, you know, until I get it perfect. And this one I've just been playing with for a few years. And then so I cut it in half, and then it was loose and it was okay in the winter, but in the summer it would get real oozy. Let me see if I can show you. I have a can over here. And so I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, maybe. See how kind of liquidy it is? It's not liquidy, but it's super soft and it's really shiny. And so this batch was actually too loose because I live in a climate where it gets super cold and it gets super hot, you know, half and half of the year. And so I need something in between, and this was not in between. And so that's why I've adjusted the amount of beeswax again. And I think it might be maybe a little bit too much, maybe because I did 2 1/4 ounces. And so I might need it to go to 2 ounces. We'll see. But either way, that was just a little bit too soft. And the one I made previous to this was just too hard. You know, you really had to scrape it out of there, and that was not cool. Alright, so I think I am going to shut the camera off and then turn it back on and do like a time lapse for the essential oils, because there's quite a few drops that I have to do. Alright, hold on. Alright, so you saw that. That was quite a few drops of essential oils. That was actually about 7 drops per 1 ounce. And I have about 16 ounces here. So that's about how much you can go for. And I just use, for this, because it's medicated, like I said, it was a wound balm originally. So it's, you know, very highly antibacterial essential oils and healing essential oils. So everything's in here and we're all ready to pour it. And off camera, right before I started the camera, I went ahead and took the lids off of all my my tins over here. And the problem with these salves is that the essential oils, they like to separate and they like to float on top. And so when I'm pouring it, you know, I kind of have to give it a little stir every once in a while so that each can gets, or tin, gets equal amount of essential oils. That's really kind of the only pain in the butt about this, is that the essential oils like to separate. So I'm going to do this, and I think I'm going to just do another time lapse again, because this is going to be kind of long and tedious. I've got 16 of these tins to fill, and I'm going to do it, like I said, on my scale. I put the batteries in, And so yeah, this, I know from experience that this is going to take a few minutes. And make sure that your scale is on a level surface. These tables are actually, they're plastic and they're kind of warped a little bit, and so I had to kind of move it around. Even this thing, I have to find the perfect spot for it, because even just over and that way 2 inches, it's not level, and it sits there and it wobbles. So I have to find level spots for all of my equipment. If you're working on a kitchen table, you're probably not going to have that problem. Alright, so once it goes pretty quickly. And like I said, just keep giving it a stir every once in a while. Try to be really careful, because these pour spouts, they want to, you know, sometimes it wants to drip down the front and everything. So just go slowly and take your time. If you try to pour too quick, that's when it starts coming out the front of the measuring cups. Alright, so before I do that, let me show you. I don't have the time set. I never do that. So you can start off by putting your tin on, your first one, and then turning it on, or you can just turn it on, and then once you start putting your tins on, you push the tare button. Let me show you how that goes, like if you didn't know any better. And this is still a little bit wobbly, but it's not as bad as the rest of the table, believe me. I don't like that. There we go. And so it reads at 0, and then you put your tin on there, and that weighs a certain amount. That's 0.3 ounces, and you don't want to include that. If you're not making this to sell, then you don't even really need to use this scale. You can just sit over here and, you know, put your tins on a paper towel. I'd still put it on a paper towel and just totally skip this step. And I don't know that I'll be selling anything from this batch, but I'm still going to weigh it out because I'm a perfectionist like that. So you just push the tare button and it'll zero out. And so whatever I add to it will be the true weight of what I'm adding to it. Okay, so I'll do that about 16 times. I don't know if it'll be exactly 16 or not, but it should be very close. So I'm going to turn this off and go into time-lapse mode, just to save you guys some time and agony. Alright, hold on. Alright, so if you might have noticed during that time lapse, my plans changed right in the middle. And what happened was I was filling them, and when it got to 1 ounce, it was literally to the top. And I do remember this from the last time I made this, and I don't know why I didn't just explain this from the start. But when I got all the way to the top, I had to move it over to put the next one on the scale, and it was spilling out. Look at that. It was you know, because it was literally all the way to the top. So just because I know that these tins, in order to get 1 ounce in them all the way, you have to fill them all the way to the top. That's why I abandoned the scale, because I know that as long as I fill each one all the way, I've got one ounce by weight. And so that's why I was just kind of hunkered down here, and I was just eyeballing it. And so what's going to happen is that as they cool, they will cave in. The centers, the center of it will start to cave in, and so I can take whatever I have left over and kind of fill them in a little bit if I need to smooth it out. They may not cave too much, but actually it made more than 16 ounces this time. And so I'm going to get a couple more tins and just finish pouring that. And so yeah, it's not worth it to try to move that off the scale, because if you're losing it, you know, there's no point into it. So once you know the level of your tin. Like I said, if you're even bothering, if you're just doing this for your own home use and family use, just fill it up to the top and be done with it. It doesn't matter how much it weighs, really. So, however you're doing it, you just got to make it work for you. I just fill it up all the way to the top. And so, there is a little bit of sediment in here, and I'm hoping that I can leave that behind. And I don't know if you noticed in the time lapse or not, but once you take this out of the water bath, you must wipe all that water off before you start pouring it. Because like I said, you don't want to have any water contact anywhere. You just want to avoid that. And even when I'm stirring this, that little bit of sediment is staying there. I'm trying to stir just the top because I really do want to leave that sediment behind. And like I told you, with these tables, they're kind of uneven and they have lumpy spots, and that's actually causing a problem over here on some of these tins on the left side because they're kind of on an uneven grade. But I just have to deal with that. I can't level each one of these tins. And so just go very slowly. Ooh, that one was almost a little bit too much. And I'm gonna pick up the camera and try to show you what I'm seeing here. You want to scrape down the sides and get that down to the bottom. And I do have a little bit left over. I don't know if you can tell. You might even be able to see the sediment now from that camera angle. But what I'm going to do is keep this on hold and see if I need to top off any of these, and if I don't, I'm going to get another little tin out and pour whatever's left into that. Let's see if I can, if it'll show up. Yeah. There you go, that brown stuff right there in the bottom. And see if I move it. That's perfect. That's the oil I want. That's the salve. And that's the sediment. Actually, let me see if I can get it out of there right now. Ugh. Sorry, guys. So I'm just going to hold this back to the side. Ooh, yuck. See? That's the sediment from that oil infusion that I do not want to have in my finished product. So there we go. It's gone. You can see there's just a little bit more salve left. And so that doesn't harden up, I'm going to put it back in here. My Apex is at 35%, so it took it quite a bit. Like, I will definitely have to recharge this again before I'd use it. So this would be something on the road. If I use this on the road, which I will be, I'll definitely have to use my Apex for this. I'll have to just do this during the day when I'm getting solar input. And so I'm just going to leave it alone. I'm actually just going to turn it off because the residual heat from this water will keep it warm long enough. And yeah, that says 37, but again, it jumps around from 35 to 38. But I'm all done with it, so I can turn him off and say thank you to Mr. Apex. All right, so you can already see it hardening up over here. And those I just poured, so you can see the difference between the fresh poured and what I did just a couple minutes ago. And actually, I don't think I'm going to have to pour any more on these. The bigger the container, the worse it gets. Like, I have 4-ounce containers. I make an udder balm for cows. And I put it in big 4-ounce containers. And so when it's cooling, it does cave in quite a bit. And so it's the same way when you're making candles. It does the same thing. But these little 1-ounce containers, they don't do that as much. And it looks like I'm not even going to have to top them off. They look perfect, actually. So I think I'm going to have enough of this to do one more. So that's 16, 18, 19. That's surprising. But I'll take it. whatever. I know that those little tins weigh an ounce, and they're all the way to the top, so it's not like I could fill them anymore, even if they weren't an ounce. But they were reading an ounce on my scale. So actually, I'm just going to do that now, because you can kind of tell, you know, right away. You'll see right away, and they'll just start caving in, and you just want to top it off to kind of smooth it out. But in this case, like I said, this is the perfect size container for it to not do that. And again, when you pull that out, wipe off that water. It's really hot, but you have to do it. You don't want that water accidentally getting into your tins. I don't know, I might have enough to do another one. I don't know. No, this is not even going to do one. Okay, this is going to be my personal one that I use first. And so try to scrape it down as quickly as you can, because once it's out of that hot water, it's going to start hardening up very quickly. And you probably can't see it, but right now, right at the top here, that's already hardening up. That paper towel's probably in the way, even if you could see it. And whatever little sediment was left is going in this tin. So yeah, this will definitely be personal use. I'll just sit it over here on my desk. And again, you can use this for anything depending on the herbs that you use and the essential oils that you use. And the oils, you can custom make it to suit whatever desire you have. You know, just research the different oils and the different properties of all these oils and the herbs. Like I said, good basic ones to start with for just a gentle skin salve, or like a diaper rash salve would be something with calendula or chamomile or lavender. Some people are allergic to lavender. Some people are allergic to anything in the Asteraceae family, and that includes calendula and chamomile and many plants. There are many plants, and if you're allergic to that, you probably know it, and you probably know what you should be avoiding. And so you don't want to do an herbal salve with ingredients that you're allergic to. Obviously, that would be a very bad thing. So if you have any kind of allergies, know what your allergies are and avoid using those ingredients. So I can show you now. I just scraped off the knife. Excuse me. I just scraped off the knife in this one tin, and it's no big deal, because once that hardens, that'll be my personal. Oh, and look, see, you see the sediment in there. So that's okay. The last one is yours, definitely. All these others you can give away to family and friend, or sell if you're doing it as a profession, but always the last one is yours. And it's never going to be perfect. It's always going to be the worst one. But that's okay, it's still usable. And once I get down to the bottom, I'll just avoid that sediment. You know, I just won't use that part. Alrighty guys, so this is how I make my herbal skin salve. And I'm sorry it took so long, but it was a lot to go over. And hopefully it was helpful. If you have any questions, just let me know down in the comments. Alright, see you later. Sorry, one more thing. The reason I'm not putting the tins on this immediately is because they're hot right now, and it would form condensation on the inside of the lids. So always wait until these are completely cooled off. You know, they may look cooled off right now, but if you pick up one that's warm right now, and so any kind of warmth that's left over will cause condensation if you cover these. And I don't like to keep them exposed because the essential oils are in there and they kind of off gas, and you really don't want to do that. But at the same time, if you were to put a lid on here and form water condensation inside the lid, that would be horrible. And so no matter how long it takes, just pick it up, and if you feel any kind of warmth on the bottom of that tin, just set it back down and let it cool off. And then when that's all done, I put the lids on there, and then I take a clean paper towel and my sterilizing alcohol, and I wipe them down really well, and then I let it dry and I put labels on them. So you can do that, or you can just leave them plain Jane like that. Alrighty, this time for real. Talk to you later. Peace.